Today is my birthday, number 31. It's weird to be 31. The reason I'm doing this video is because I am planning to post a video in regards to my testimony. I was gonna share it a year ago, but I didn't. But it was recorded, I think it was last year I recorded it, and I was gonna post it that very same month, but completely just let it slip and didn't do it. I'm just thankful for the fact that I am alive today. I'm able to celebrate another year of life with God and my family. I'm in this the atmosphere that I feel is very different this year. I can't explain why, but God knows. I just know that this year is a little different for me. It feels different for me, but I am overall grateful at the fact that I am alive another year. I get to spend it with my family. I get to rest and relax and just really enjoy what God has done in this past year. As normal, a lot of people, all of us go through different things. There are things that I'm facing and that I'm going through that may not be the easiest thing in the world, but at least I'm here, alive and well, when many years ago that probably wouldn't have been the case. So this testimony kind of says it all. What I went through about 16 years ago. The fact that I'm here, I'm just grateful for God for all of that. I'm posting this before this video just so that you guys have an idea that I attempted to post it but keep forgetting. But I just want to show my gratefulness to all my family, my friends, God most of all, and I hope that this testimony, this video blesses you and touches the hearts of many. One more thing before I forget. I do want to say I want to provide a trigger warning just to let you know that in this video there is going to be mention of self-harm, mention of suicide and things like that. So if you are someone that is facing that or know someone who is facing that, make sure that you contact the crisis line. If you're a believer and you're dealing with depression, anxiety, you have thoughts of harming yourself, things like that, please reach out to the crisis line, but also reach out to a leader that you trust, your pastors. Make sure that you communicate with them with how you're doing, because believe it or not, you have a family within your church. There is someone in there that you can trust with what you're facing, that can pray for you, but also can help you find the resources that you need in order for you to get better. So please do not hesitate to reach out to somebody within the church. I would say more like a leader, a deacon, elder, or your pastor, or maybe a youth leader, or a leader if you guys do groups, or you have a group that you continue to do Bible study with. Make sure that you reach out to them, and they will reach out to the pastors and stuff to make sure that the correct steps are made in order for you to be taken care of, and at least you have people that are giving you the support. So please make sure that you always get in contact with somebody that you trust, but also there is resources. There's the crisis line. Make sure you reach out to them, 911, things like that, so you can get the help that you need, because God is with you. Don't forget that. But also don't forget that God gave wisdom to people to help you get those resources, to help you get the actual help that you need. So don't hesitate, don't feel afraid, don't feel alone. Most of all, you're not alone. God is with you, but I know for a fact that God has placed people who also care about you and want to give you the hand so you can start to get better. Just to reach out if you need help in the description below, so keep an eye out there. Hello, my beautiful people. My name is Natasha. I do have a podcast, sort of, but I haven't started. It's called, I call it Nathania Talks. It's pronounced differently. It's a word in Hebrew, so I probably am botching it, but because I am Latina and all that stuff, I call it Nathania. So it's called Nathania Talks in Instagram. Technically it was just supposed to be Nathania. It used to be Nathani or Nathani, something like that, but then I thought it was spelled wrong. It's not spelled wrong. Anyway, not the point. I'm here because I wanted to share a testimony that I told a friend of mine I was gonna share to her, but I also was gonna record it anyways for just to share in social media. It is Suicide Prevention Month, and I thought, it's September. My birthday was on the 31st of August, and I was gonna share it like the day after, but I didn't, so I forgot. Well, I didn't really forget. School got in the way, and then I'm kind of like, at this point, today is like a good free day. So I'm gonna say a trigger warning, just in case people, get strongly affected and things like that, and also just to prevent this not being knocked down by like social media. And then I have to repost. 15 years ago, my life would have ended if God did not intervene. And the reason why I say that is because 15 years ago, medically speaking, or psychologically speaking, or however you want to portray that, I attempted suicide. And during that time I was dealing with a lot of things, and I still deal with it today. It's a healing process. All of us go through it. About 15 years ago, I dealt with a lot of stuff in my childhood. So bullying. I've had over 20 surgeries until I think it was like after high school is where it kind of stopped. And I also did not have my dad really in my life. He was there here and there, but wasn't really completely in my life. My mom is a single parent, and with all of that, I didn't realize how much it negatively, in a sense, impacted my growth and growing up throughout the years. I didn't really see how it would have ended up harming me, in a sense, and how much it would have affected me. So when I was about 15, this was like March of 2010, probably a little bit afterwards, because the surgery was in March of 2010, and then I had the recovery process a little bit during that time. About 2010, early 2010, I just had surgery for my wrist, my right wrist. I injured it in high school. I fell playing soccer when I shouldn't have been playing soccer. At that time, I had a gym teacher that was not very nice, and I was forced to play. And because of that, I ended up injuring myself. I was gonna kick the ball, missed it, and I slipped. So I got surgery, because it turns out that the ligament tore when I landed, but we didn't really discover it until like months after the fact, or maybe about 2-3 months afterwards. And then I got the surgery in March of 2010, right around there, and was recovering. So one night, I got into like an argument with my mom over how to properly take, pretty much how to properly take a medication I was taking for something else. I had pain medication for my wrist for the recovery because it was going to be painful, of course. Surgery is never not all the time it's pain-free. So I had the opioids, I had the pain medication, I had it nearby. If I needed it, I took it, in which maybe the first few weeks I did, or the first couple weeks I did. And then after that, I was kind of sort of there. But I think when this happened, I think I was kind of out of that transition of being in so much pain from the surgery that it was starting to feel better, or I wasn't really in that much pain. It was just being uncomfortable. So we got into an argument over a medication I was taking at the time, for something else, and I wasn't properly taking it. So we got into a discussion, argument. It didn't become physical. I don't remember. I don't think so. I would have remembered if it did, but it got to the point that so many things were happening in my mind that it just blew up. I couldn't handle the life I was living in, and I just wanted some peace and quiet. To give you a small backstory, on top of dealing with 20 surgeries in my life, having so many surgeries in my legs, I have a disability in my legs. So part of my knee didn't grow completely. It's called Blount's disease. So it's spelled BLOUNT''S, and you can look it up. It's a very rare condition. Not a lot of people have it, but it mostly happens in children. It was discovered at the age of 4, and ever since then I had surgeries to correct the legs because my legs were looking bow-legged. So it in a sense looked like a shape of a bow before you put the arrow to sling, to kind of like throw it. I had many surgeries for that, but during my elementary school years up until I think middle school, I was bullied all the time, every day, nonstop, by little boys. Not much girls, it was mostly boys, and because my legs looked funny, they looked different, I looked different, they would make fun of me on a daily, just kind of laughing at the fact that they felt grossed out by how I looked. I never really spoke up about the bullying to my family. I don't know why. I think honestly that part of my memory is like a blur, so I don't know why I never actually did speak up about it. I guess I dealt with it. It wasn't really, in a weird way, it wasn't really my choice. I just never spoke about it until I think it was before getting into high school or during high school that I eventually mentioned that I was bullied to my mom and things like that. But besides that, my dad wasn't really in my life, so technically it was just my mom that raised my brothers and I. My brothers and I have different fathers. My father was attentive in his own way, but not what I needed him to be. He would visit from time to time. He would stay about a week and then leave. But during that time he would stay and visit, we never spent time together. We never did anything to have our father-daughter time. My dad would always be with my mom 100% of the time, and I just felt like I was around a stranger. I didn't know him, and then in certain events that I needed him to be there, he wouldn't. Whether it was like a concert at school or I don't know, something amongst those lines. If I needed him to be in a special event that I was gonna be in, a concert, during those times, music was a big thing, so you would have chorus and all that stuff, and I wanted him to be there, and he wasn't, and he always said it was because of his job, and I think over the years I kind of realized that it was probably just an excuse not to show up or not to come or things like that. I think on top of that, I sadly resented my mom because he had more time with him than I did, and I know it wasn't her fault, and I know she did the best that she could to have our fathers have a relationship with me and my brothers, but when the three of us discovered on our own that just wasn't the case. Not trying to talk really bad about our fathers, it's just to kind of give that backstory. So those are 3 main things that I went through, and with that, spiritually, we know what the enemy does with that. It starts to kind of hurt your self-worth. You start to feel bad about yourself. You feel like you're not enough. You don't feel worthy, so on and so forth. The list really goes on. But I did grow up in church. I just didn't have a serious relationship with him until I was 16, 17, around there. So my mom and I got into an argument, to go back to that, over something really silly. And I think all of what I've been through from the day I kind of knew life existed all the way up to 15, it just kind of blew up. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I was crying mentally. I couldn't take any more of what I was dealing with. The argument with my mom, it just made me feel so insecure, things like that. I feel like I couldn't handle it anymore. So what I did was I was in my room. I saw that the pain medications were on my desk at that time, and in my mind I kept playing a video in my mind that I wanted this like peace and quiet. I wanted to be in a different world where I wasn't suffering. I wanted to be somewhere where nobody was bothering me, that I was just, at peace, no problems, no feeling less about myself, things like that. And I saw the pain medications, and I just started taking them. It went from like taking one all the way up to taking 6. So I took one at a time up till I got to that I took in total of 6. Don't ask me why I stopped at 6. I just stopped at 6. And I put the bottle down, and I just laid there. I think probably like 5-10 minutes. It really wasn't that long, until something in my mind told me to text people. And I texted just 3 people out of that. The first one I don't remember. The second person that responded back to me didn't really help. I think they said something like close to like okay, kind of like it didn't really give me much to go with. The third person I texted, she knows who she is. I don't want to say her name because I don't know if she would feel comfortable with me sharing her name here, but she knows who she is. She called me like ASAP. It wasn't even like 5 seconds with me sending the text message, and she just called me, and she's like, you're gonna get your butt out of bed, you're gonna go out to your living room, and you're gonna tell your mom what you did, and you're gonna go to the hospital, and you're gonna get help, because I'm not gonna have you die on me here. And I don't know if we spoke a little bit more after that, or it was just because I had medication in my system, so if I didn't take action soon, it could lead a lot worse. I don't remember. That part was like sort of a blur, but I know that she did call me, and she just kind of took action, and just told me what to do to get myself help. So I did just that. I got up, and don't ask me why I obeyed. I just did it. I really, and it wasn't like I was trying to seek attention. I just don't know why the outcome of taking the medication and then doing all that, like, I don't understand why I did that. But all I know is that I followed what my friend said. She's like a sister to me, so I followed what she said. I did it. My mom wasn't too happy about it. And I know probably in the way she responded to me probably wasn't the best, but I know that she did it because of the worry she had as a mom. She's like, I'm gonna lose my daughter if I don't do something. So we went to the hospital, but on the way to the hospital, I was just feeling 10 times worse because my family wasn't really helping. The comments and stuff that were being thrown in the car, it wasn't helping either. I was already in a bad state of mind. So, and then on top of that, I had a bunch of medications and a bunch of pills in my system that I need to get out. Did that, got to the hospital, they got me right in, of course, and the first thing they had to do was clean my system. And then we did start the process of like getting evaluated and what the plan of action was to make sure that I was okay. I took this like charcoal drink. It was disgusting, may I say. It was gross. But they did give me apple juice on the side with that, just so that I can pass it through better and not throw up or anything like that, because they knew it was disgusting. But I had to drink it in order for me to clean my system out, and make sure that I don't overdose on the medication. So did that, and I think I stayed about 3 to 4 days just to make sure I went through the proper evaluation, that I was away from what triggered the situation, and then go from there. After that day, I ended up going home because I did miss being home. But the process wasn't easy after that. I think, as a teenager, yes, you go through your teenage phase, but when you're dealing with pain, you're dealing with things that didn't go the way you would assume a normal teenage girl's life would go, and everything accumulated all at once. It wasn't easy. I still went through phases throughout the rest of my teenage years up until like my mid-20s where, I was very angry. I fought with my mom all the time. I had my moments where I wanted to do that again, I had my moments where I did cut myself. And again, just to repeat, trigger warning to all of this that we're talking about, that I'm talking about in this video, just so people know what they're going to be listening to. But it was very hard after that. It was still, I had my days. I fought with my mom a lot. Even with my brothers, even though the youngest didn't really understand things that were happening. But my older brother, I didn't feel like I had his support all the time, but I knew somehow. And I think he told me at one point that affected him a lot. The fact that I went through what I went through and he didn't want that to happen to anyone else. And, it's been hard. And I think eventually once I got into my 20s and started to find God, because after that attempt, I think I started to seek church. And it wasn't like anybody forced it to me. It just, I was already in a church at that time. I grew up in church. But something happened after that. I don't know if it was like a click. I don't know if it was like it's not like God audibly like told me something and I was like, let me find God and get better. It was just from there. I think probably what it was is that one of my youth leaders came to visit me while I was in the hospital after the almost suicide attempt. She came and gave me this devotional book, and in one of them had the verse where it says that I knew you even before you were in your mother's womb. And I'm paraphrasing, and I don't know exactly what that verse is, but it's in the Bible. If I can find it, I will probably put it in the description, or I can share it in my Instagram just so that people have an idea where to look for it. She had it bookmarked there, where it said that, God knew me before he created me in my mother's womb. He knew me before he put me there. He knew who I was gonna be. He knew who he made me to be. He knew what he called me to do. He loved me even before I was formed in my mother's womb. And I believe and pray that was what caused me to take my relationship with God seriously, to seek him more, even in the midst of the pain that I was going through. Now, the process to get to where I am today, it was not easy, because I still rebelled, I still got angry, I still fought with my mom. It took a while for my mom and I to establish the relationship we have now. We're closer now. Before, it was like every little thing we would fight for everything. And it might sound a little funny, but one of us can drop a pencil on the floor and we're gonna argue at the fact of why it fell on the floor. Something like that. It was bad because I had a lot of resentment towards my mom, and then my mom didn't understand why I was going through what I was going through. She had an idea, but she didn't live in my body, so she wouldn't have known the things that I went through. And eventually, in conversations we've had, I let her know that this is what I was dealing with. It's not like I hated her, but there were some things that I resented her because of certain situations. In that case, it was my dad. I resented her because he always spent time with her, never spent time with me, type of thing. But she knew that. She understood that. And she wasn't gonna just deny it. She knew that because she saw that. And because I wasn't there for most of the conversations that my mom and dad had, because that's something adults would talk about privately, not with their kids around. And she did eventually tell me that she did tell him about that. But at the end of the day, it was his decision if he was going to make changes of that or make a difference about that or not. And even then, I still have a connection with my dad. I have his number and everything, but unfortunately, I did what I could as his daughter, and he just has to do his part. Even though I'm 30 now and I'm grown, I was raised, I'm still learning every day as a person. But needing my dad for certain things, I'm not in that place anymore. I would like him to be part of my life, but if he chooses not to all the time, connect with me and things like that, that's his decision. So that's the mindset I have now. But probably when I was like a teenager, I probably was like, well, Dad, why won't you look for me, type of thing. But yeah, after that attempt, not to make this story too long, but after that I started to seek God more. I just started going to youth nights. I started going to the services, really paying attention more to the services, because I always was in the services. There were occasions that I didn't go because I was going through surgery and things like that, and recovery. But after that is where I was like, let me seriously focus. Let me seriously pay attention to what I'm hearing, the gospel, the Bible, the sermons. And I think when God started to remind me how much he loved me, how much he sees me as the apple of his eye, is where I understood. I started to understand that there is somebody who loves me. Not that I'm saying my mom doesn't. Not that I'm saying that my brothers don't. I'm just saying that the father figure that I needed, and the person who loved me no matter how I looked, I have someone else besides just my mom and my brothers. And then that father figure that I didn't have, I have it with God. And over the course of these last 15 years, God has put men, women, kind of like older adults, like to fill in those pieces of family that I didn't have, like grandparents, dads everywhere, like men that I have bumped into that have become, in a sense, like, or gave me that bit of fatherly love that I needed. Women as well. So in times that maybe my mom wasn't there or couldn't be there, I have women in my life that have come and go, or come into my life and have given me that like extra mom in my life, things like that. I have wonderful friends. There's a couple of them I don't have much contact. Well, we try our best to have that contact, but we have lives. We're adults. We live. We have work. We have relationships, things like that. But those friends are near and dear to me, because each of them have been an impact of my life. I have met people that have become friends of mine, or almost close to family, that have impacted in some season of my life up until now, that have made me the woman that I am today. Do I deal with stuff still? Yes, I have my moments, because unfortunately we're humans, and some human beings, Christian or not Christian, end up hurting you, and we don't know why if we didn't do anything to them. And some things from the past sometimes tend to seep through, because the enemy tends to do that. It sucks. But what can we do to make that better, and fight through it, is just going back to God, reading his word, having a good community around you that encourage you in times that you are low. It's not just that they message you and they're like, go read scripture. No, it's like they tell you a scripture, they explain it to you, but they also try to talk you through what you're feeling at that moment. They talk to you like a person. They have a conversation with you. They listen to you, even if they don't speak, but you just need someone to listen. And that's what God does. God places people, God places different things in your life that will help you get through the battle that you're facing. And God will turn that negativity that you have been through or you're going through for the good. And I think I'm quoting and paraphrasing Romans 8:28, and maybe another verse in the Bible that says something similar to that. But the verse that always gets to me, and I'll look for it now, because that one actually I can look for it. It's Jeremiah 29:11, and I'm going to read it in the ESV version. And it says, For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans of welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. And I think I'm going to read it in NLT. It says, For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. There are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. And I think there's another version that says evil. for good and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. But whatever whatever version you are comfortable with reading, read it. But I think I understand why pastors have like different versions all at the same time of different verses, because there's certain verses that sound a lot better in a certain version than others. But Jeremiah 29:11 is that verse that I think helps me get by very often, because it's that reminder that God sees me, God knows where I am, God knows what I'm going through, and he also reminds me that what I'm going through is not going to last forever. What I'm going through, he will utilize what the enemy tends to do to me and utilizes it for the good. For example, this testimony I'm sharing, this was something really severe, really bad, and something very severe that happened 15 years ago that could have ended me in the grave. But because he saved my life and he utilized one of my friends to get help, he turned it around for the good. So now there are moments that I come across people and I tell them my story. I encourage people from time to time, or whenever the Lord leads me to those people, and let them know that they're not alone. And I don't have to tell them to, you need to serve God now, or else, nobody will ever talk to you, or you won't get through it. I'm not going to do that. Sometimes the way you can share the gospel is just by listening to someone, just being there for that person. Try to help them come up with a solution. And it has happened to me many times where I have encountered people that are going through something very, very hard, and I tell them, I might not know the answer, but I know someone that might. And you have a God that, God will take care of, whatever it is that you're dealing with. But right now, these are the options of how we can help you, type of thing. And I don't have to go and grab my Bible, go to a certain verse and tell them about it, and then I'm not giving them any type of solution to their problem, even though God is the solution to every problem. But like physically speaking, there's options of how to help you get through whatever it is that you're going through. Spiritually, God is the one that will help you get through those situations. So this is my story. I know it's like a 30-minute video. I was trying to do this for like 10, but it's really hard when you have a testimony and God just leads you to say other things as well. So I might post this in YouTube. Probably when you see this, it is in YouTube. But if I throw snippets out, some snippets are gonna be in my social media, so people can actually watch this. Share this to someone. Maybe some things that I said in here it was paraphrased and things like that, because I didn't want to be scripted, but I know it's helpful if you have a verse in mind, have the verse ready. So please don't be too judgmental with me, but if you know the verse, or if you want to be of help and put the verse in the comments, go ahead. The other thing I want to point out, since it is Suicide Prevention Month, and we are in this whole video I was talking about suicide, what you mentally battle with, there is the Suicide Prevention Hotline, the 988, and I think there's an actual phone number you can call. I think the 988 is like text message. I'll make sure I put those details below so people know where to go. If you know someone that is going through these thoughts, or you're not sure if they're okay, reach out. There also could be ways of how you reach out so that it doesn't look like you're trying to get them. They say it at work. Try to, I don't want to say stray away, but try to figure out the right words to say when you reach out to those friends or family members that you feel like you don't know if they're okay or not. You want to check up on them. Just use your words wisely so they don't feel a certain way, because when you go through that process mentally, it's a little difficult. Again, I'm not perfect, I'm not an expert, so probably some of the things I say might not be correct, and I'm not saying they weren't, but for some people they might not think it's correct. If you want to be of help, comment section is available below to help. if you want to give a bit more information, maybe I didn't have it and I didn't say it, go ahead and post it in here. I should hopefully be coming out with start my podcast soon. I just don't want to say a date because I say soon and then it doesn't happen for a while. So be patient with me. But if God just leads me to throw videos like this for a while until I actually can get settled, great. But that's all I wanted to share. I hope that this touched you. If you do not know God, or you have known him in the past and have strayed away, I just pray over your life. I pray that you, either if it's with this or in another moment, you have that encounter with God. I just pray that you meet God where he is, or where he's waiting for you. Remember that he is for you. He's not against you. He's not going to forsake you. He's waiting for you with open arms. I just pray that you accept him whenever you see this, or whenever God shows up in your... He's always shown up. But the day that you meet with him right in the middle, I pray that you accept the prayer of salvation, that you just have that encounter with him, that you start to feel that love he has for you, because he's always had it. He never stopped loving you. Know that you're not alone with what you're dealing with. You're not the only person that has had those thoughts. I think most of us have had those thoughts, have attempted. Unfortunately, we lost people to suicide, family members, friends, loved ones, or maybe those people that you don't really talk to, and then you find out that happened, and you just start to wonder what you could have done differently, even if you weren't close to them. Unfortunately, we lost people to that, and I think the whole point of the suicide prevention, and to continue, even if it's not September, the reason we continue to do that is to save more lives, to share our stories, but also be able to reach out to those people at that moment. They don't feel worthy. They don't feel like anybody can understand them. Just reach out to those people. Let's save more lives. In the aspect of God, let's save more lives. Let's gain more lives for the Lord, that they see that God hasn't forgotten them. We pray for those families that have lost loved ones due to suicide, and we just pray that they get peace and comfort. And just not to keep rambling on, but let's just help people. Let's be nice to each other. Let's check in on each other. This world isn't perfect. I know that all of us don't agree with the same things, but let's just be kind to each other. Let's reach out to each other. Let's hug each other, talk to each other, keep that line of communication. And for us that are seeking for people to be won to Christ, just reach out to people. Love on them, respect them, even if you don't agree, because probably a hug and maybe someone to listen to is all they need. Let God do the rest. Don't do the job yourself. If you want to provide that prayer of salvation, do it in a way that you're guided by God to do so. Don't just force it on them if God didn't guide you through it, type of thing. But anyway, that's a video for another day. But let me end it here. I pray for whoever watches this video. I pray that God just speaks to you. I pray that with this you help others that were in the same mindset as me back in the day. I pray that you share this, that people are touched. I pray that this helps you with what you're going through, that you seek a community that can help you through your process. I pray that God does what he needs to do with this video, and if I somehow can be of any help, I pray that God guides me through it. I just pray for all of you guys that are watching. I pray for your lives. I pray for you to be healthy, strong, and just keep pushing forward. We're all in this together. You're not alone. And I pray all this in Jesus' mighty name. I pray. Amen. See you guys soon, guys.